This is award-winning journalist Linda Moulton Howe, a graduate from Stanford in 1980. She brought to light the fact that since the 1960s, cattle all over the world have been showing up mutilated out in the field where they've been surgically dissected. Oddly enough, there's no blood, the organs missing. So listen.
This phenomenon that mutilation started back in the late 60s. I know that there were people who, in the beginning, they took it seriously, even though the rest of the world was saying it might be predator and satanic cult.
Now here's an important point. Almost every time there's a cattle mutilation, and they're happening daily, it's always reported as a possible satanic cult. However, there's not a shred of evidence that it would be a satanic cult. Even the FBI says there's absolutely no evidence of human activity whatsoever. So where does satanic cult come from? But it is consistent. It just gives the reader somewhere to put it. Satanic cult. A satanic cult running around out in the field in the middle of the night with laser machines, dissecting 10,000 cattle? I don't think so. But when there is real evidence of a satanic cult, it's not reported.
I want to end me.
But I digress. I think the world knows that our media is propaganda.
I guess I find myself in an unusual and unique position of also being one of those people who took the mutilation seriously enough to stick with it long enough that I have found myself becoming an authority in an area that I never would have suspected, the mutilation of animals worldwide. But the carcasses themselves are one of the biggest single bodies of evidence that something highly unusual is taking place on this planet. Mutilations have continued every year in my files. I first started looking into the mystery in 79 to 80 when I did the documentary A Strange Harvest. And the phenomenon was worldwide then. It remained worldwide in stories throughout the beginning of the 80s. We're now in 1990. And right here in front of me, I have an article from Associated Press, Cattle Mutilations, Still Unexplained. This is dated August 19th, 1990, Vicksburg Sunday Post, Vicksburg, Mississippi. Here is a story about two mutilations in a little teeny place in Mississippi called Guntown. This is 1990. This is right now. One of them, and I talked with the veterinarian, a veterinarian named McMillan in Guntown. Quote, a 500-pound heifer was found in early July with the left ear and 18 inches of skin from its left rib cage cleanly severed. Where the hide had been, a hole was bored through to the beast's heart. And the vet said that he could look right down through a hole in the rib cage and he could see a hole going through the heart.
Do we have any technology that could do that kind of a...
Maybe lasers. But the big question is, which contingency of the human community is going to be bothering with a calf in Guntown, Mississippi?
Got to be a satanic cult.
With laser equipment that could do this. Current day lasers, if the military has it, fine. But this phenomenon started in 1967.
In 1980, while Linda Moulton Howe was putting together the documentary A Strange Harvest, Senator Harrison Schmitt asked the FBI to investigate cattle mutilations. You can pause the video and read this. This is off the FBI's own webpage. They wouldn't touch cattle mutilations with a 10-foot pole. They say it's out of their jurisdiction unless it happens on an Indian reservation. They opened an ex-president's safe last week. They can go anywhere they want.
I investigated around 200 cases, and out of those, I figured about 40, maybe 50 were real high-strange mutilations. All the internal organs were gone, heart, lungs, liver. The brain was still there. This is an animal, a very interesting case. People say, well, how come it's always the upside organs that are gone? This animal, the cut side was down, which totally negates any sort of scavenger or predator.
What is a plausible explanation for that?
There is none. There is none.
Satanic cult, satanic cult.
This was the most disturbing case I ever had. This animal was found in a pristine 5-inch snow with not one drop of blood. It was missing its spine from the base of the neck to the hips. The upper respiratory organs were gone. The brain was gone with no break into the cranium. And the dura, the film on the outside of the brain that connects it to the skull, was perfectly intact.
What is a plausible explanation for that?
There is none. There is none.
Predator with a laser machine. So let's go back to the senator. Either we've got a UFO situation or we've got a massive, massive conspiracy which is enormously well funded. Harrison Smith, Caltech graduate, Harvard graduate, astronaut, defeated in the next election. So many of these happened in 1 year in Colorado that State Senator Floyd Haskell asked the FBI to get involved. The overwhelming majority of the cases all involve the same parts on the cattle. The tongue is missing, a jaw is cut out, the reproductive organs have been surgically removed, and the strangest thing, not one drop of blood. And in cases where the animal is laying in the snow, there's no footsteps, no blood, no anything. What's the FBI say? Very often you can tell more about a case and its cover-up than you can by the evidence alone. I mean, when veterinarians and law enforcement officers have case after case after case, I mean, there are 10,000 of these happening a year, where they say surgical instruments were used, surgical precision, possibly even lasers were used to remove very specific organs, and the FBI says, oh, these are all just predators. Common predators that only eat the tongue, that surgically remove the jaw, take the reproductive organs. Wow.
There is a Missouri rancher that's getting tired of making some disturbing discoveries on her land.
Well, cattle found dead and the manner of their deaths are a real mystery. Zach Tecklenburg traveled to Henry County to see it for himself.
Yeah, 3 different cows on 3 different days found mutilated. Their owner is out of rational explanations, and that has her looking to the sky.
I'm normally a very private person, but I'm willing to do this because it's just something I want some answers to.
Henry County rancher Lynn Mitchell is perplexed. She found one of her 1,500-pound cows dead in the pasture on July 19th. Its tongue sliced out, its heart exposed.
It wasn't detached, it was just hanging out there.
Something similar happened just 3 weeks earlier.
I looked at first to see her tongue was gone, then immediately noticed the udder had completely been removed.
Lynn says this cow's reproductive organs were gone too. Making the death more mysterious, this char mark, still visible today, surrounded the cow. Lynn couldn't believe it was happening again. She found the first cow more than a year earlier, December of 2011.
She had obviously been cut on the side of her jaw. Her tongue was gone, her ear was gone.
In all 3 deaths, Lynn says the cuts were clean, like they were done during a surgery, and there was no blood despite the animal's gaping wounds. And since the cows graze in such an isolated place, nobody saw or heard a thing. The sheriff's department and a veterinarian have investigated, but just like Lynn, they can't find an answer.
Satanic cult, natural predator.
The more it happens, the more questions you get, and the more you try to research and learn, you find more and more things that make you ask more questions.
With all the reasonable causes debunked, Lynn says she's open to the possibility that extraterrestrial life could be responsible. Similar cases of animal mutilation have been reported in Missouri in the past few years. The FBI nearly investigated in the 1970s.
I guess you heard that. The FBI almost investigated something in the 1970s.
With the unsolved mysteries looming, aliens have become a common answer. Lynn's not sure what's right, she just wants it to stop.
Something happened to these cows, and it's not something that you see every day. It's not in your normal, so something else is going on.
Lynn also says the vet and the deputies could never find bullet wounds or any other ways the cows could have been taken down. She's considering installing security cameras in case the person or the thing responsible ever comes back.
In a world where the truth is kind of hard to come by, we can thank Linda Moulton Howe for bringing this to light in 1980 and staying with it for 42 years. I don't think any of it would be reported if she hadn't done what she did. There's been a lot of talk lately about defunding the FBI. They've been absolutely no help whatsoever in this case, cattle mutilations. No help whatsoever in the number of Americans disappearing in our national parks. We found out recently that they were mostly responsible for the kidnapping attempt on the Michigan governor. The media always shows where the FBI thwarted some terrorist attack, but they failed to tell you that the FBI started the terrorist attack. I think what we have is a runaway department that has morphed into nothing more than a band of thugs. No offense. In that we really can't count on the FBI for anything practical. Linda and her British assistant keep an ongoing database and an active website and YouTube channel called Earth Files, where they examine mutilations and a host of other things. Check it out, Earth Files.